So to kick things off, just a little bit about who Matterport is and what we do. So the images that you see on the left is part of our output. This is about creating a digital twin, a three-dimensional, dimensionally accurate, photorealistic capture of a built property, a physical space. And this can be everything from a construction site through to a new building, residential, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, whatever that may be. This is all about creating and empowering businesses to a new level of engagement using a 3D digital twin. And I'll share a bit more about how this comes together. So Matterport is the leading spatial data company in the world, and we're focused on digitizing and indexing the built world. And what we mean by that is, if you think about the number of buildings that exist around the world, this is the largest asset class in the world, but there's very little data about those buildings in terms of understanding what's been built, the content and the elements around that. And there's an enormous amount of value that we are empowering our clients, our partners, our end customers to be able to extract through the Matterport technology. Been around for about 9 years, over 30,000 customers around the world. In fact, we've got customers now in over 100 countries, including 28 countries in Asia Pacific. A couple hundred employees and growing, and 3.5+ million spaces under management, meaning that there are, and this number is going up very quickly. This is the number of Matterport spaces or models or properties that have been captured and are rendered and used across the world. Our mission around this, and this is kind of why, why Matterport, why are we doing this? And I'm going to go in and explain a bit more about how this comes together. But as I mentioned, the built world is the largest asset class in the world. If you take the number of buildings that exist around the world, we estimate that around 4 billion. There's actually really no good data to give us an exact number. Over 20 billion spaces. So in other words, within a structure, you could have multiple spaces that would be relevant for and have value in using Matterport. And the big thing here is that there's just a lack of spatial data. There's very little knowledge in the marketplace and information about that built world. And this is what we're helping to develop and support. The easiest way to do this is to go in and show you an example. So we've got applications and customers who are using Matterport across basically the entire portfolio of properties. So residential, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, utilities, etc. I'm going to start with residential because it's where the company started, and it still represents a big portion of what we do. So let me just, let me go back and click on the residential model here. And I'm just going to go into a Matterport space. So hopefully what's rendering on your screen is what I see here, which is a three-dimensional digital twin of this property. This is a house I think this is in London. And as you can see here, this is a digital twin of this actual property. So this is not rendered through design software. This has actually been captured with the Matterport technology and then rendered as a true 3D model that is, again, dimensionally accurate and photorealistic. I can click into the model to move into the space, and now I have the opportunity to navigate and move through the space. So I'm not limited to one or two different perspectives. I have the ability to scan up, scan down, and move through the property to investigate and explore that property as I wish. And by the way, we'll send some of these links to you afterwards. There's lots of models that are available in the public domain. Well, 3.5 million models that are under management, so there's a lot that are out there. A couple other things I just want to highlight before we get into some of the use cases is that, as I mentioned, this is a dimensionally accurate 3D digital twin of this space. And what that means is that because it's got 3D data behind it, is I have the ability to go in and actually measure. So I've turned on the measurement mode, and you can see that there's actually some measurements that have already been placed in here, but I also have the ability to measure myself. So if I'm interested in looking at just this section here, let's say I'll take the diagonal of it, I can do that measurement. If I want to see this table, maybe I'm going to replace this table in the future, I have the ability to take measurements of that as well. And I can measure anything I'd like in this space. And the accuracy of that measurement is going to be dependent on the camera that's used to capture it. If it's using the Matterport Pro 2 camera, these measurements are going to be 99% accurate. So again, for most use cases, this is going to be more than adequate for confirming space differences and things of that nature. I can also go in and I can change this to metric as well as back to imperial. The other thing I want to highlight before we move on is you'll see in the model there are these little little circles, little asset tags here. And this allows you to highlight key features and benefits in the property that you may want to draw attention to for the guests that are visiting the property. So this could be embedding YouTube videos, it could be embedding other content, text descriptions, it could be links, hyperlinks to other elements. Great way to highlight and focus attention on key aspects of the property for others to see. You can also go to a floor plan view, and at a floor plan view, sorry, if people could just mute their phones or the connection, that'd be helpful. You can also go to a floor plan view and have an aerial view to also look at the property from that perspective. And you can also do that from a 3-dimensional perspective as well. So I can jump to different floors. And I can also do that measurement within this as well. So if I go to the top floor, for example, and I want to measure the, let's say this living space in the top, I have the ability to take measurements directly in here as well. Great. Let me jump now back into the presentation and kind of now share a little bit about the use cases that can be extracted from the Matterport 3D digital twins. As I mentioned, and as you can see on this screen, there are a lot of different use cases across a variety of different property types. What we look at is, we basically look at this across the entire building life cycle. So this is everything from the design, build, and operate section. So your architects, engineering, construction. This is a great way to add efficiencies into your BIM documentation, capturing physical spaces and being able to extract that 3D data into your AutoCAD or other design software, streamlining that entire process, which can drive incredible cost savings and time savings. As an element of documentation for the build and construct phase, being able to collaborate with stakeholders who don't physically need to get on property. And given what we're dealing with now with COVID, obviously we're seeing a massive increase in adoption because of the fact that we're able to provide that dimensionally accurate and photorealism that allows you to be on site without physically needing to be there. And that's driving great efficiencies through the through architecture, design, and build phases as well. As I mentioned, promote, the number 3 there, that's where our business was founded, doing an incredible amount of work in the promotion of real estate. So as a all-in-one digital value proposition to support your sales, marketing, leasing functions. We've got thousands, tens of thousands of customers who are using it in the real estate sector, and I'll talk a bit more about that in more detail in a moment. Even in the area of facilities management and property management, a wide variety of use cases. And at the very end of the presentation, I'm going to share a little bit about how using our SDK and our API, you can actually even create applications on top of Matterport to elevate even further the value proposition of the Matterport 3D digital twin. The last 2 is another area that's been growing very, very rapidly for us, and this is in the area of insurance and repair or restoration. So streamlining the entire insurance process from claims process, bringing in stakeholders, reducing the cost, reducing the time, and driving a lot of efficiencies and improving customer experience. And the other side of insurance is actually part of the underwriting process. There's not much documentation in the, currently, if you think about the underwriting process for, especially for commercial or high valued properties. Having a Matterport digital twin as part of your documentation with your insurance gives you additional capabilities or additional value in terms of protecting the assets that are insured. As I mentioned, we're working with over 30,000 customers around the world. Here is just a snapshot of some of those companies. Some you'll be familiar with. So again, a lot in the commercial and residential real estate, retail for sure, but really a wide variety. So anything to do with physical assets, whether that's the design, the build, the promotion, the selling, the management thereof, ensuring restoration, anything to do with physical property, we're enabling our clients with a lot of success in that space. And in terms of customer success, and I won't go through this in great detail, and I encourage you, if you want to learn more and hear about how customers are using Matterport to drive real tangible value into their business, we have a large number of customer stories that we're adding to every day that talk about customers that are seeing significant value that's being extracted from the use of Matterport and their digital twins. And these are not small incremental improvements in percentages. We are really helping our clients transform their businesses and driving new levels of operating efficiency, as well as driving top line revenue growth, and really just unlocking a greater potential of those physical assets that exist within the client's domain. And again, I encourage you to take a look at it. I've just highlighted a few here, and again, through that link at the top, you can certainly read more. Let me go into one more example here. We went into the residential real estate one. I'm going to go into a construction example because I know that a number of folks on the call are also in the AEC industry. So let me show you something here in the context of a building site. So here we have a commercial property that looks like it's 4-level commercial property. That's being constructed here, and it's in the midst of construction. You can see that they're just in the framing stage. We don't have the drywall up, or any of the physical walls are not yet installed. What you have the ability to do here, and what a lot of our architect and construction companies will do, is they will do this as part of their documentation. So every week, every other week, at key milestones, they will scan their property for Matterport and add this into their documentation. A couple things this provides. One, it allows you to, at any point in time, actually go back in time to be able to visit the property to see what was actually constructed prior to, say, in this case, the walls being put up. If you're doing milestone-based reporting or invoicing, this is a great way to document what's actually been built with no, right now, a lot of that's based on either somebody getting on site and highlighting what's been constructed. Maybe there's photos, but here you'll have an opportunity to have a full 3D model that lives in perpetuity. And again, the opportunity with that measurement mode is you could also be inspecting this property. So for example, let's say if I want to check that let's pick something here, that the light switch on the wall here, I want to make sure it's been put in at the right height based on the design specs. So I can go over here, get my measurement mode, click on the light switch, and I can go down to the floor, and I can actually see that it's at 3 feet 10 inches. And I can compare that to the design specs. You can look at as built versus design. Again, I could be extracting this information into for BIM. I could extract this information into my just documentation as well. So again, lots of opportunity to inspect here. You can also see obviously where all the wiring is. Once the physical walls go up, very difficult to know where all these runs are, whether that be the conduit or just the electrics. Again, now being able to jump back in time, you can see specifically where each of those runs took place. So if there was a need to go in and do any maintenance, there's no concern about where it actually resides. The other thing to highlight, and actually I'm not sure if it's in this model, is the matter tags that I talked about before. This allows you to also put into the model other things. So for example, here's an install guide on the HVAC equipment. So for collaborators, for maybe the subcontractors, they can go into the model and they can see this additional information. So lots of different ways in which you can leverage the 3D digital twins to bring value to the organization. And again, this could include install guides, user manuals. It could actually, a lot of our construction companies will do this where they will add in notes. So for example, they'll go in and they'll say, please move the switch from the left wall to the right. Please replace this unit with something else. Again, being able to do all of that without physically needing to get on site. Great, let me go into, so one of the things that was brought up is, what's happening due to COVID-19. And in the earlier video that you saw, there was, a lot of this was highlighted, that we're seeing an incredible amount of growth due to COVID. And what we've seen is that Matterport's been growing steadily for the number of years. And what's happened with COVID is it's accelerating the adoption of digital technologies, prop tech, because of necessity. But the exciting thing is, we're not going to go back to the norm of what we had before. What we're seeing without any shadow of a doubt is that this is driving a rapid acceleration of the use of digital twins in the construction and property industry. But it's also highlighting a whole bunch of value propositions that would otherwise not been realized. And again, there is no going back to what it was before. We are just seeing just a tremendous growth and the value proposition. I mean, these articles aren't about just people adopting it. They're talking about the incredible success that they are seeing using this type of technology. I just highlight one. This one is just quite recent that came out, as you can see, August 9th. The reason I thought this was interesting is that it was quite well that they put this on here. It's almost like physically being there. Get every angle, every nook and cranny, floor to ceiling, really creating that engagement that you wouldn't otherwise get. They even make the comparison to the Star Trek transporter machine, being able to jump to a different time and space. And as I mentioned, if you are, especially in the construction phase, being able to jump back in time and seeing how things were, and having that in its entirety. So not just relying on some photos that you can't match up, but actually having that full 3D model. In the case of promote, and again, we do a lot in the residential real estate, commercial real estate, and well, just the promotion of property. What we have seen is that unlike the typical technology adoption curve, where you have kind of early adopters and then the early majority, we're seeing this shark fin, which is a term that Accenture came up with in terms of the adoption around our technology and virtual tours. And it's really transforming the way in which folks are engaging with property. And again, I'm talking specifically now around that promote space. So the advertising and engaging with your audiences for the sell lease of properties. Historically, this has been heavily reliant on photos, some floor plans, some videos, some 360, but what you get with Matterport as a true 3D deliverable is customers can engage in the property in a very authentic way. There's no hiding, in the sense that the problem with, say, 360 tours or video is that they are designed specifically to highlight the key areas that you want people to see of the property. What you're getting with Matterport is this incredibly immersive experience that allows the customer to view it in its entirety, the full 3D immersive experience. And that's driving a higher level of adoption, authenticity. And if I go back to some of those case studies that I was showing you early in the media, I mean, we're seeing millions and millions of dollars of transactions that are taking place without people ever physically getting on site. Because again, this is an authentic experience. There's no kind of hiding the, using fisheye lenses to distort the truth. And that's what's really helping drive this level of adoption. We've seen, it varies in markets, but generally this is a good stat here in terms of adoption here. Estate agents, the increase we've seen, a 630% increase in estate agents looking to capture properties using virtual tours since March. And in fact, that trend is not slowing down. This is the new norm. And what do you get with this? And I'll kind of end with a couple quick slides here. One of which is you have this all-in-one visual marketing tool. So this is giving you everything that you need in terms of engaging your audiences the 3D capabilities, the matter tags. You have the ability to actually extract schematic floor plans, social sharing, measurement mode. You can even extract 2D photography from this. So it really provides this all-in-one visual marketing capability. And if you're in the architect, engineering, construction space, the AE space, the same thing. You have additional elements that you can extract here. So there is a 3D mesh and OBJ file that can be extracted. There's a point cloud that can be extracted and used in your design software. Other things such as the high-res floor plan and ceiling plan. And we're seeing more and more folks in the architectural and engineering and construction phase, even using this in the VR and AR space. I'm going to end with one last slide, which is, at the very beginning, I talked about Matterport being the leading spatial data company focused on digitizing and indexing the built world. And so going well beyond just capturing the 3D imagery and the high resolution imagery and the 3D data, we're actually surfacing through the use of our SDK and our API additional functionality that you can leverage. So for example, we have the ability to do object insertion. So you can take 3D objects. So if you look in looking here on the two images, you've taken an empty space. So the top space is what's actually there, and the bottom is using virtual staging. So inserting digital objects to be able to create that kind of virtual staging environment for spaces that are currently empty. On the right side, you can also do things such as inserting objects that have dynamic content. So for example, IoT devices or other dynamic data can actually be overlaid on top of your Matterport models to create a visual understanding of what's happening in that space. So again, object insertion, but with dynamic content and data in that as well. And that's just two examples of what's possible today. And this is just the start. We are surfacing more and more capabilities for our customers to be able to extract even greater value with their Matterport spaces. So I'll pause there. I believe we're going to do some Q&A as well. So I need to pass the control back to you guys. Let's see if I can do that.
Hi, everyone. The floor is already open for your questions. Please type in your questions in the Q&A tab. I believe we have one question from Architect Joel Fernandez. The question is this a package for the unit and package for services after capture?
Yeah, great question. So basically with Matterport, there are two elements. You need a compatible camera for capturing the space, which we're talking about today, the Matterport Pro 2 camera, which Maximum Solutions Corporation is a reseller for. So they can provide you access to getting the Matterport Pro 2 camera. And then there is a software subscription. So through the Matterport software, we automatically render those spaces that have been captured with a compatible camera, stitch it all together and deliver back to you those models that then you can edit and share and collaborate with stakeholders with. So it's really about empowering you all to be able to do this yourselves. I hope that answered your question, Joel.
We have another question. The question is, what are the good examples to integrate AI camera in the laboratory?
So good examples of AI camera into a laboratory. So I'm sorry, maybe I need to know a bit more about what you mean by the laboratory. The other thing we can do is if there are some specific questions that we may need further dialogue on, let's make sure we capture who's asked the questions, and we can always come back to you separately and even communicate that to the all attendees as well. But if you can type in a bit more about that, I'd be happy to try to answer. One of the, just maybe while we wait for the next question, one of the questions we often get, and it kind of links to what Joel was alluding to, is around pricing. That's one of the things that people always want to know. So I assume we'll probably be coming back to you with some more information if you're interested in this. And like I mentioned, there's two aspects. One of which is the camera. So the Matterport Pro 2 camera. It sells for, and I'm going to do this in US dollars, which is what we have on the website. Obviously, this excludes the import duties and shipping that Maxim Solutions has encountered, but it's around $3,400 US as a one-time purchase for that camera. And then beyond that, the software subscription is based on it's what we call active spaces. And an active space is basically any Matterport model. So a build, a property, a unit, whatever built space that is. And an active space is any space that you're using to view, edit, or share. Needs to be active, otherwise it can be archived. And there's no fee for any archive spaces. You're only paying for the number of active spaces. And they come in tiers. They start at 25, then 50, 100, 250, and they go up from there. So in the case of real estate, this is quite useful, or even construction, is that if a property sells, for example, you can archive it, and you're not charged for that, and you're only charged for those active spaces. If a property is rented out, you can just archive it, so no need to delete. And again, you're only charged for the tier level that you need for the number of spaces you have. And I'm getting another question in here, right? Is there a way or technique that you can use to capture the ceiling and external?
Roy Lapi. In using Matterport, is there a way or a technique that we can use to capture the ceiling and the exterior designs cleanly and effectively?
Yeah, so first off, on the ceiling side, absolutely. So maybe I didn't show that in the model, but we'll send you some links that you can play with, or just type into Google Matterport. If you type Matterport Nike, N-I-K-E, the Nike, the store, I think one of the top hits is a store in Milan, and you can go into that one and take a look at it, and you can scroll up, scan up, so you can look to the ceiling as well as down to the floor, because it's actually capturing a 360 view, so floor to ceiling. So you're already doing that. For exterior designs outside, because the Matterport Pro 2 camera is actually capturing dimensional data using infrared or structured light, when you do outdoor scanning, there's a couple things you need to be mindful of. One, direct sunlight will interfere with that capture of the dimensional data, but it's still possible to use it outside. Just need to be mindful of kind of direct sunlight for that. But you are capturing all of the imagery in high resolution from the outside as well. The other thing that we often do, and it depends on the use case, is you can use the camera both to capture three-dimensional data as well as separately just to capture image data. So for outside street view, if it's a property that you're looking to promote and you want to get a image of the pool in the backyard, or if it's a high rise, maybe there's a common area you want to capture. You capture that with a 360 image, and then you can link it to the 3D model. So I think the quick way to answer that one is there's lots of ways to do this. It probably requires a further conversation, but yes, there are ways to do that. Good questions.
We got some more questions from our clients. Our client is asking if a downloaded 360 shot or panoramic shot can be edited and then placed back to the Matterport website on their account.
Yeah, it's a good question. So when you're actually scanning a a space. You're going to be using, as I said, a compatible camera, plus you're capturing it using the Matterport Capture app. And that Matterport Capture app is actually not only just capturing the information of the scan, but it's actually got some intelligence in it, looking at object recognition and object detection, so that it actually is stitching it together automatically. So as a result of that, this isn't just 360 photos. There's a lot of intelligence that's being captured and processed when you're actually on site doing the scanning. So consequently, you can't take other 360 photos and then upload them. That's one aspect of it. There is, we are looking at other ways in which we can engage with the model. So for example, today we have a face blurring capability, and we're looking at other ways in which we should be able to surface in the future ways to possibly edit or modify some of the panos that are captured. But today, again, everything has to be captured with the Matterport Capture app, and therefore we don't have the ability to upload 360 photos separately.
Okay, noted. Another more is, what does the plus sign in the photos mean in the account, the Matterport account? The client's got the idea of uploading the edited 360-degree and panoramic shot to their own portal.
Yeah, so I think I can answer that one this way, is that, so when you log into your Matterport account, you have access to your 3D model that's been rendered for you. There's also a photo section, which first off, our AI engine will automatically extract from the space a variety of 2D photos that is predetermined or probably appropriate for your use. And again, this is due to the fact that our AI engine has a lot of understanding of content. So for example, if it's a residential property, when you click on photos, you'll see a suite of photos from the kitchen, the bedroom, all well angled and positioned, again, due to the AI engine understanding content. You also have the ability to go in and capture additional 2D photography. So you can go into the edit mode, click on the camera icon, and then navigate in the space to find the image or the angle that you want. I mean, if you look at the background or on the screen right now, that image would have been extracted from the Matterport tour. So you can extract that 2D imagery. So that plus sign you may be referring to, it could be where you are, you can zoom in, zoom out to get the right angle. So there's a number of things you can do, and then you can download any of those 2D images as well. Linking back to the earlier question, there is not an ability to upload new images, but you can extract any of those 2D images from the Matterport space and manage them yourself.
Okay, I see. Noted. Any more questions from our attendees? If no more questions from our attendees, I think we could go ahead and present the promo bundles and the Matterport August promo. So I would like to call in Paulo again to discuss it over.
There was a question that just popped up. Do you want me to respond to that first or not?
When capturing using Matterport, there are times that scans are not aligning. Is it not recommended to scan the same location with a different time? Does lighting affect the scan?
Yeah, so there's multiple questions in here. When you have scans that don't align, we have to look at those on a case-by-case basis. Often it's because the camera is too close to an object. You want the cameras, you don't want the camera right up against the wall. You want it set off by maybe 2 feet or so. There are a number of online best practices and tutorials to help you get the most out of your scanning practice. So that's really one I would be very mindful of, is the positioning of the camera. Now there is no set order. You can have scan positions anywhere you'd like to capture both the full space as well as the path that you wish to navigate. But the other side is but just making sure that it's not too close to an object. I'm not sure what you mean about recommended to scan the same location with a different time. Maybe you're referring to light. I mean, the only thing to be mindful of is that the Pro 2 camera will auto adjust to certain lighting conditions. The only thing you need to be mindful of is if you do have direct sunlight coming into a property, because that can interfere with the infrared sensors that are capturing the dimensional data. that may need to be taken into consideration. So for example, if you're scanning a property that has direct sunlight coming in, you may need to close the curtains or lower the blind to reduce the amount of interference that could be coming in at that time. Or if it is a property that you can just scan other parts of the property and then come back to that room once the sun has maybe moved through the horizon and is no longer casting that direct sunlight into the room. And it tends to be when windows are different. So you can mark windows and mirrors and things like that to minimize any of the lighting effects. So hopefully that helps. Again, lots of online tutorial content to help you get the most out of the process.
Any more questions from our attendees? Should you have any further more questions, you can directly email us. But for this moment, I would like to call in Paolo to discuss about our promo bundles and the August Matterport promo.
Okay, hi, thanks, Jerry. So let me share my screen. Okay, so if you're interested in purchasing a Matterport Pro 2 3D camera, so we have this bundle package. So you get all this stuff, the Matterport Pro 2 3D camera, an iPad, a backpack, and a tripod for only 258,000. So it's already inclusive of VAT. So if you're interested, send us a message. And we also have a $300 off for the month of August. So if you're interested in purchasing, so that's going to be 258,000 minus $300. So that's going to be the cost of the bundle price. So if you're interested, so these are the sample scans and photos. Okay. So if you're interested, send me an email or give us a call and we'll happy to assist you. So we can take a screenshot.